Hello, and welcome to a special mini edition of the Sustainable Commodities Podcast, recorded live at the Regenerative Agriculture Summit Europe in September 2025. I'm Barnaby Patchett, MD of 199, a marketing and comms agency working in sustainable commodities. The following interview is part of a series of short conversations recorded with experts from across the supply chain during the event. Look out for the others and check for the special report episode on the conference, which is available now. Hi, welcome Carlotta. So I've got Carlotta Costa from Dimitra here, and we're going to be talking a bit about technology and ESG.
Nice, thank you for having me, Barnaby.
No, you're very welcome. Barnaby. Yeah, you're very welcome. So tell us a bit about yourself and about Dimitra.
So I work as a director of ESG at Dimitra. As a company, we offer technical solutions for all kind of actors along supply chains in the agri-food industry.
Okay. So tell us a bit more about how that works. So what kind of solutions are you offering? I saw you've got your ESG compass. Yeah.
Exactly.
Tell us more about that.
So if we want to start with the middle last mile of the supply chains, then we talk more about organizations, associations, or large corporations. And those are the target audience for the ESG Compass. It is basically a digital platform where all the goals that are concerning E, S, and G, so environmental, social, and governance, can serve as a unified vision towards sustainability. So imagine you're an association and you have members. You would want for the association to have a centralized, unified vision towards what do you want to achieve in 2030 or 2050 as main targets, let's say being carbon neutral or, big ambitious goals. And then all the steps that need to occur on a yearly basis and all the data that is necessary to show those accomplishments is what the platform is about. So that your members can actually get there, right? So it's a compass. It helps you navigating rough waters of compliance and regulatory frameworks, etc.
Well, navigating the world of sustainability and regenerative agriculture is a challenge for all of us, I think. I think you're on a bit of a discovery mission here as well, a bit like I am. How do you see your solution fitting into that space so far?
I think Regen Agri is a beautiful movement. Like I heard a few hours ago, it sounds like a hippie movement now that got on steroids in Europe. But indeed, it's very necessary. It helps, let's say, the whole ecosystem in agriculture. So starting from the farmers to then large corporations, multinationals, to get, again, in connection with nature and with people on a basis that is necessary for the food systems to operate. So I think in a way, it sounds a bit like on a hippie vibe because it seems something that goes beyond what we should be doing, but it's actually what is correct to be doing. So I feel that, Regen Agri is just a movement that enhances the value that sustainability brings to agri-food.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned it being a kind of hippie movement because I see it as a bit more sort of inclusive in terms of, as well as anyone working in ESG and sustainability, it's become very politicized. If you mention net zero, it's become a political concept. I haven't seen the same politicization of regenerative agriculture. The most conservative anti-net zero person out there, if you said, well, can we improve biodiversity and make soils more productive, wouldn't have the same pushback. So potentially there's an opportunity there. Is that something you would see?
Yeah, and I think working with AgTech, I truly trust data instead of talking in a way. So I think around ESG there is a lot of politicizing and criticizing because there isn't a lot of trust and verifiability maybe. Even if we start having so many benchmarks and frameworks and standards, so we're moving in the right direction. However, with Regen Agri, I think a lot of it comes with the data. How can you speak about biodiversity loss or performance enhancements if you do not have pollinators indicators or anything that it's concerning that kind of theme, right? So I think it's really data driven as a new niche and that makes it per se more reliable. At least that is my perspective coming from an ag tech background.
And that's where the tech comes in because if we're not measuring it, then it's very difficult to see what the impact is.
Sure.
Yeah. I think one of the challenges I've seen, I mean, we're only on day one of the CAPA conference here, or day two, but day one of the actual panels, is the broadness of it. So one of the challenges I guess I see is that it's so broad that people doing anything can claim that they're doing something. You know, it's a bit like the UN SDGs. There's so many of them that something you're doing along the way is probably doing something. Do you have any thoughts on how we might be able to make it more focused? There's so many things you could measure.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's true. I believe that we have many standards out there that help us to go in the right direction. So what I heard this morning from EIT, so the European Institute for Technology and Innovation, European indeed, funded by the Commission, is that we need to look at the standardization or harmonization of everything that we have out there. Once we have a framework that we can all agree on, then it's going to be the benchmark. And from there, we can start collecting the data that is, to some extent, the one that we really care for, right? And I think the nature credits and what is about to happen with those is a right step in the good direction, right? So...
And credits in general, they've come up a lot. They're quite divisive, I guess, in the sustainability movement. I mean, I think they've got an important place to play in a lot of these different areas. But do you have any thoughts on credits as a sort of mechanism?
I think I like them because it's a way to reward the farmers for the hard work they do with nature. So in a way, I worked with carbon credits before, and carbon is one side of the story. But there is so much more that can be done. And in the moment in which a farmer is making an extra effort, or maybe either changing what they're currently doing or preserving what they're doing in a hard way, in a hard manner, to preserve the environment, then they need to be rewarded. So I think that is the next step, working from the AgTech perspective. Data is important, and then the next step is how do we reward them for the data, but how do we reward them for what they do, and the data is backing, right? So I think credits in that way are going to be very useful.
Yeah.
But we need to find the pricing for it. And that's going to be the next challenge, right? Because for a market to operate, you need a buyer and a seller. So now we definitely have sellers that can give us these credits. And it's going to be up to the buyers to see how much are they willing to be paying for this, right?
That's the thing that comes with every credit system. You know, you've got to get both sides of the supply chain, both ends, to agree on that. And I think improving the perception of credits as a whole was probably the biggest challenge facing adoption of what. And it seems, I'm not sure how easy or how difficult that's going to be, but it's a process that you need to undertake. And in terms of your platform, where can people go to find out more?
We have a Dimitra.io website where all of our products are showcased. Yep. The ESG Compass is just one product that encompasses the platform. But then we also have more specific smallholder focused mobile apps use cases. So that, for instance, we're helping for EUDR compliance, the deforestation free.
Of course, it's a big topic on the podcast. You can drink now. That is every single episode we have a EUDR.
I can imagine. I mean, because people go for incentives and they're driven by regulatory stringent frameworks, I think, at the moment, especially in Europe at least. And EUDR is just around the corner. CSRD is going to be next. CS-DDD. So everything is coming. But I think EUDR now has a lot of focus because companies have to do something about it. So, of course, it's going to be a topic that you talk about every day, I guess.
Lots of traceability, lots of importance of that. Saw a recent report. There was a pilot program done in Holland, actually, and I can't remember who did it, so apologies. But they did a kind of live test of people's readiness for it. 25 different companies, and only 40% were ready. We're now talking in September, and EUDR is coming in December.
Yeah.
How ready do you think people are?
Well, I was on the other side as well. I mean, now I work for the digitization of farmers and understanding more the origin, whereas before I was understanding more the importer side. I was working for a trading house. So I have a bit of both perspectives. And I think on the trading house perspective, they're getting more and more ready, of course, because what they were trying to do is to shoulder the costs via premiums for the most for the digitization of the commodities that is necessary for polygon mapping and all, the rights that are concerning the DDS, the due diligence statement, etc. But I see now that they wanted to be as prepared as possible by paying, of course, and willing to pay. However, the origin countries had to deal with all of this, right? So the time that the EU has granted these origin countries was really beneficial, in my opinion, so that they could get more prepared.
You supported the delay, yeah?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it
was a necessary thing in your...
Absolutely. For the implementation. I mean, on an ambitious level, it's beautiful as a project, but it comes to me a little bit from the ivory tower and not from the field reality, right?
So the EU is very good at that. The EU is very good at leading on ethics, but not, particularly good at looking at...
We need that. It's
not particularly good at thinking of second order...
The Northern Star is needed as well, right? We need to go towards that direction. And then how we get there, it's a difficult part.
I've never met anyone who has criticized the intent of EUDR. But I've also never met anyone who hasn't criticized the implementation.
Fair.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for joining us on the Sustainable Commodities Podcast. And enjoy the rest of the Regenerative Agriculture Summit.
Thank you. You too. In Amsterdam as well.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for listening. Please leave us a review, subscribe, and make sure you listen to the other episodes in this Regenerative Agriculture Summit series. Thanks.